Mr. Feffer, we missed your speech, unfortunately, today. We'll catch it up on when it's posted. But the topic is of great interest to us, the amount of money being spent on nuclear weapons, which would destroy the world, compared to the amount that might prevent the coming global climate catastrophe. If you could talk a bit about that.
Sure. Well, I talked about global military spending in general, which is about $1.75 trillion annually. At the moment, if we want to be generous about how much the world is spending on climate change, it's about $250 billion. So the amount that's necessary, which is a middle figure in between the 1.75 and the 250 billion, at least $1 trillion annually needs to be spent to attain the target figure. And the target figure to prevent the world from the globe from warming past 2 degrees increase is approximately an 80% reduction from 1990 levels by 2050. Okay, so to achieve that target, we need to be spending at least $1 trillion annually, globally. So you see there's about $750 billion, and this is at the most generous calculation, that we're not spending each year. So the question is, where is this money going to come from? Well, I mean, there are a couple of different sources. One is the huge subsidies we give to fossil fuel companies, as well as the associated costs, military costs for ensuring access to oil, etc. That's a lot of money. That's about $500 billion a year annually. Again, a conservative estimate. Another source, Wall Street. Right now, there's a lot of talk about financial transactions tax. It's very popular in Europe. European governments are on board. They think it's a smart idea to assess a very small, it's actually very, very small tax on every financial transaction. But because there are so many financial transactions, it adds up to a lot of money. Okay, the United States is not on board yet with that, but there are some folks in Congress who are at least interested in starting to think about it. And then the third is, of course, military spending. You know, as I said, $1.75 trillion globally spent on the military. If we reduce that modestly by 25%, a 25% cut across the board, all the countries, well, that would raise, somewhere around $435 billion. That's a lot of money. Now, of course, because the United States is responsible for the lion's share of military spending, anywhere between 1/3 and 1/2, depending on what year we're talking about and what measure of U.S. military spending. Well, of course, the United States should be responsible for the lion's share of the cuts as well. A large, significant, shall we say, portion of U.S. military spending does go to maintain and, of course, modernize our nuclear arsenal. It would be great just to take that right off the top. Say, hey, nukes are the least useful. If we're talking about the utility of weapons, I frankly think we could take a lot more out and have lots of questions about the utility of our conventional forces. But anyway, obviously nukes are something we can get rid of. We can just take that right off the top, and that would help us free up money that we could use to address this extraordinarily challenging and what will be expensive issue of climate change.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.